All right, welcome to another episode of the Stallone. What's it called again? Stallone Fan or Stallone Podcast Network Fan?
Stallone Fan Podcast Network. Sometimes fan.
I think that's what we settled on. Like we've been through many changes.
Well, it's not changes; it's growth. There is a big difference because I started off. Well, of course, Craig is the godfather of the Rocky or Sly podcast. We know that. We acknowledge that. We all bow to Craig. I started doing my Rocky podcast, and then I stumbled upon you guys. I reached out to Craig. Doug reached out to me, and then we all started guesting on each other's shows. So I was like, well, instead of guesting on each other's shows all the time, why don't we actually do a podcast together that's not Rocky or Rambo? It's just Stallone's.
Look at that. I see the Twitter feed.
Oh, look at that. We're live on Twitter.
Yeah, we're live on Twitter. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that.
No, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. Yeah, welcome if you join us on Twitter. We're live, so if we screw up and say stupid things, it will be edited for the audio version, but this is just a chance for people to pop in and out and see what we're like. They'll probably be turned off. Well, we welcome you anyways. So we met, and then we started doing the Stallone show, and I love our time together because you guys are my friends. I love our discussion of the Sly films that aren't Rocky, that aren't Rambo. And today we're going to go into F.I.S.T. But before we get into F.I.S.T., Craig, you got some beef with me. Do you want to describe your beef with me?
I hope people that listen to the network have downloaded and listened to or streamed our first episode of the newest show, Hugging the Cactus, which is the Mel Gibson podcast hosted by longtime network fan and, I guess, chief troll of the network, Seiko. And Ryan, you were the first guest, so you guys talk Mad Max and Mad Max 2, which I've always known as Road Warrior. It's a lot of fun, and also Seiko describes where the title of the podcast came from. Looking forward to more episodes. I know, Doug, next month you do Braveheart, and then I'll be chatting Lethal Weapon with him. But Ryan, I got a little mad at you when you guys were chatting about Mel Gibson as a director. And you guys both sang his praises, and rightfully so. He's a talented director. But you kind of shit on Sly a little bit.
Oh, well, that's a little strong. Do tell, though.
I mean, I'm not going to verbatim say it, but I mean, it sounds like Seiko thinks he's an absolutely terrible director, and you basically said he's got a good visual eye, and that's about it.
Oh, wow. That's about it. That doesn't sound like something I would say. That's about it. Seiko talks crap about anything that's not Seiko. Let's just be straight about that. Like, Seiko's stronger than everybody, smarter than everybody, a better podcaster than everybody. We know this about Seiko. So, but that being said, yeah, check out that podcast. It's the Mel Gibson one called Hugging the Cactus. It's great. It's fantastic. Here's the thing about Sly's directing is that he often directs, well, he only directs himself other than the movie Staying Alive.
Yeah.
I know it's not fair, but I wonder if there's a reason why he only directs himself.
Staying Alive is the reason.
He's a good storyteller. He knows how to get the action out. He knows how to tell a good story, from the Expendable films that he directed to the Rambos to the Rockies. Let's be honest. He knows how to tell a fun story and get the action out there. There's no doubt about it. Mel Gibson's more of an auteur, like he's directed films that he hasn't been in front of the camera, from Passion of the Christ to Apocalyptico. I don't know how to say that word. I messed that up. But anyways, he's a great director. Braveheart.
That's not it.
I know. Stop it. Yeah, check out that discussion. And I don't think Sly is a bad director, but compared to Mel, yes, you're right. It's apples and oranges, maybe.
Not enough of a sample size. I can't imagine that anybody would sit down and watch Rambo 4 and not think that there is a competent, skilled person calling the shots there.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I can't wait to talk about Rambo 4 on my Rambo coverage in the future. So before we begin, let's introduce who we are. I'm Ryan from Going the Distance, the Rocky Series podcast. You can find my show on the last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network. To basically find all of our shows that are covered there, from Dolph Lundgren, Mel Gibson, Bruce Willis. Boy, when I start, I always feel like I'm going to forget somebody. Steven Seagal, James Bond, Sylvester Stallone, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. We're all there. Just Google Last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network, and you'll get where we can be found on all the podcast apps. Doug, why don't you tell us who you're from, where you're from?
My show is called Rocky Minute. I think everybody hearing us already should know what Rocky Minute is. We go through the Rocky movies. We cover 1 minute of film at a time. It's a very deep dive. Some might say too deep. I might be one of those. We're having fun doing it. We got seasons 1 and 2 out, and we're chugging along on Rocky 3.
Craig.
Yeah, I am part of the Slycast, the occasional travel through Sly's cinematic career. We're kind of stuck somewhere in the mid-90s right now. We've probably covered most of the movies that are worth talking about, with the exception of Rocky Balboa, Creed and Creed 2 and Rambo 4, which we talked about a couple minutes ago. I've slowly been putting all of the Slycast episodes up in the main Last of the Action Hero Network feed. If you haven't listened to Slycast for any reason, if you go through the feed, you can find those classic Slycast or Slycast from the archive. But also, if you go to the Last of the Action Heroes website, which you can find if you just Google it, Michael Taylor, the wizard of the network, set it up so you can search by show. So if you don't like scrolling through the timeline, you can just look for Rocky Minute and see all of the Rocky Minute episodes or all of the Going the Distance episodes or all of the Slycast episodes. So that's a pretty neat feature too. But the network's awesome. I know Seiko was really happy and excited, and rightfully so, about how well the first episode did. And I basically said, congrats. That's why we're all part of a network, because you've got a built-in audience right there that's going to give you a shot, because we're all basically signing on and saying, hey, this is a show worth listening to.
Right. Awesome. All right. Well, you said there, Craig, that on Slycast you kind of talked about all the films maybe worth talking about regarding Stallone. I was really hopeful with our coverage of F.I.S.T. because we looked through the films that we have left on our personal endeavor here of the Stallone films, and F.I.S.T. seemed to be kind of the last film that we have left to do that didn't quite eke into silly or weird or whatever straight to video type films. This is a legit film early in his career.
Yeah, and one other thing, Ryan, is we did F.I.S.T. at a period in the Slycast when it was originally envisioned to be like a 13 episode limited podcast. I believe it shares time on the episode we dedicated to it with, I want to say, Victory. We didn't really do like a real true breakdown of F.I.S.T. on the Slycast. So this is going to be kind of a first for me as well.
Okay. Doug, are you okay? Doug's getting mad at
Sounds like there's some dog action going on.
Yeah, Craig, you know about that.
Oh.
Yeah. Take out your Aspeton there, Doug, and lay some muscle down on people there.
My dog has the most shrill bark, and I don't want to blow out anybody's eardrums.
Oh, that's fine. No worries. Doug, was this your first time to watch F.I.S.T., or have you seen it before?
No, never saw it before. I didn't know what to expect. I knew it was a film about labor unions. Never really had any desire to watch it because I don't know if it just sounded boring to me or what, but I never really had any desire to watch it or jump in, but boy, was I wrong.
A little bit of trivia here. This was actually one of the alternate titles for Party at Kitty and Studs.
You always go for the low-hanging fruit. You know that?
What I do? Actually, no, this is the sequel. People were very disappointed when they read the you saw Party at Kitty and Studs, now watch him F.I.S.T. I'm terrible. As always, Craig deadpans my jokes.
No, sorry. I was actually going through some of the research I've actually done for this, which is...
Oh, wow. Well, I'm gonna rely on you for this because... So, full disclosure, we pirated this film from our favorite pirate, Andy. He sent us a copy of a high def... It looked great. The film that we got was high def, but it was from MGM. So I guess it was from an MGM, like...
I wonder if they have a network somewhere, because it said MGM HD in the upper left-hand corner the entire time.
And there was no commercial break. Realize we watched a 2-hour, 5-minute movie. The cut that's on Wikipedia, the time length is everywhere, is 2 hour, 25 minutes. So I don't know if MGM edited stuff on their own, but maybe they felt, whoever released this felt, hey, we can tighten this film a little bit. Is that the intention?
I don't know, because I own the DVD. I couldn't find it. It's in a box somewhere in a closet in the house here. I don't remember it being a 2 hour and 25 minute film. No, I mean, I don't remember watching a different cut of the film when I watched it the other day.
It's awfully long for a movie from the 70s that's not named The Godfather.
Good point. But there was a noticeable cameo, or early cameo, was missing from the version we saw that I knew this individual was in the film, but he wasn't in this cut. And that was Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers playing Stallone's son in the film. But that scene was cut. I had to go to YouTube to find it. Whoever produced this cut, or MGM, I guess, when they put this on their network, they took it upon themselves to edit the film. They chopped off 15 minutes or so from the film. And one of those scenes was actually the dinner scene And I watched it on YouTube. I could see why they cut it. It was just literally them passing the potatoes and gravy. You didn't need to have that scene. So granted, it was a good cut.
You know what? I'm not seeing any mention on IMDb that the only alternate cut that they talk about is the original theatrical ending, which is what we watched. The cable release did not show the end scene with, the truck with the bumper sticker. It was restored finally on home video in 1988.
The movie that we watched didn't have Anthony Kiedis at the dinner. So that scene was cut.
I thought his credit said...
No, it's a different name. The scene wasn't in the film.
No, but what I'm saying is I thought I had read that he was always on the cutting room floor.
Oh, maybe.
Now you're going to make me tear apart my house looking for this effing DVD.
Okay, well, while you go do that...
Maybe they needed to fit in a 2-hour time slot on the station or whatever.
Yeah. So, Doug, this was your first time watching. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Craig...
Well, it says yes, stage, yeah.
Yeah, so...
I don't know.
That's okay. So, Craig, we're going to rely a little bit on you for some behind-the-scenes. You got some behind-the-scenes stuff. But before we get to that, maybe we'll just go quickly over the plot of the film.
All right, well, hold on. Somebody just said we watched the European version. It's 15 minutes to 20 minutes shorter than the American release.
Well, there you go. So we watched the European version. Thank goodness to the Europeans, because hands up, who was bored? Sorry. That was a rough watch. Look, it was...
What?
Okay, Doug, please.
Are you serious?
Yeah, please go ahead. What did you think?
I thought the movie was phenomenal.
Phenomenal?
Yeah, yes. And I'm going to shock the shit out of a lot of you guys today. I watched it twice.
What?
Yeah, I watched it twice. I was on the hook the whole time. Like, I was riveted by the performances. The story, I guess part of the reason that I was so interested was because this is a loose telling of the Jimmy Hoffa story.
Right. Why didn't they just do that?
That actually wasn't the intention of screenwriter Joe Esterhaas. Says he did not want to do a Hoffa story, and a lot of people sort of attached the association. Of course, with the way the movie ends, the Hoffa connection becomes immediate. But when he pitched the idea and wrote the screenplay, he was not going for a retelling of Hoffa. I mean, you can't talk about the origins of unions in this country, I guess, without going in Hoffa territory, though. There's
a lot of similarities throughout the film.
Do you want to do the plot?
It starts in the 1930s. Johnny Kovac, he's a warehouse worker who's fed up with the working conditions and the lack of pay and benefits for him and his coworkers. One of the delivery guys sees that Johnny's a good guy that rallies the troops, so to speak. He gets Johnny to be an organizer for the union, for the F.I.S.T, Federation of Interstate Truckers. Did I get that right?
Yeah, Federation of Interstate Truckers,
Interstate Truckers. Johnny rises through the ranks of the union and becomes the national president, and he organizes strikes. He, using some mob tactics, because unfortunately he gets the mob involved in the union business, because according to him, you need the mob to get that extra push. So he rises through the ranks of the president. Yeah, and it's a happy ending for all, where everybody gets what they want, all the union, the truckers. They get their contracts and their pay raises and everything, and they all live happily ever after.
Yeah, good synopsis, Doug.
A great synopsis, Doug.
No, that was terrible.
No, it was good. And I'm kind of glad you just said this is what it's about. If people want to watch the film, I don't really want to go through. I'm not a big fan of doing that. We don't really do that on our show anymore, which I like. That we don't just go beat by beat by beat necessarily. I know Craig has some behind the scenes stuff I'd like to talk about, but let's talk about where Stallone was in his career at this time. And I understand that he did Rocky, huge success, of course, and then he did Paradise Alley, which he directed, I believe, and wrote as well. And then he rolled into the same year was this film as well, F.I.S.T. Now, would this film be called F.I.S.T. if Rocky never existed?
Yeah, I think so.
I really don't think so. I honestly believe they tried to figure out an acronym that would work with the whole persona of Rocky punching. Because even early reviews of this film, this was when this came out in 78, it was only a couple of years removed from Rocky, the first Rocky. They were already talking about this beefy, muscly guy, which he wasn't even that big. But I guess back then he was a big star compared to maybe some of the other stars back then, like Dustin Hoffman or something. But they were talking about how he was already back then trying to shed his muscle-bound type persona on screen.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It's kind of plagued Sly his whole life, unfortunately.
I believe he did F.I.S.T. before Paradise Alley, and if I remember reading what I read in the book, when he was finished with F.I.S.T, he went and worked on Paradise Alley.
Okay. I found it interesting. Here's the thing. I found it interesting to watch this early film because I saw this probably back in the early 80s, back when I first became a Sly fan with the Rocky films. I was a kid. So I went and just watched everything. And maybe my own mismemory of seeing this film called Fist, I thought it would be kind of like there definitely is some action sequences or there's some violence in the film. But I remember even as a kid, like thinking, oh, gee, this is pretty dry and boring. And I think I've peeked at it a couple times over the last 3.5 decades. But this is my first full watch through as an adult with open eyes, ready to do a review on it. I had to watch this thing in piecemeal. I was doing 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
There's nothing wrong with that, Ryan. And I think I'm more on the same page as Doug is. I mean, It's a 70s film. It's a very 70s film. And pacing in the 70s was different. And I'm not blaming audiences, but audiences were different in the 70s. And this is a perfect example of a 70s film. I personally enjoy the subject matter. The political aspect of it is really interesting. And we get a performance from Sly that we don't really get to see very often. And it's one of those things where, there's an alternate universe where Fist was a huge hit.
Yes.
And Sly became probably would circle the same projects as Pacino and De Niro. We're in the universe where Fist wasn't a hit, Paradise Alley wasn't a hit, and Rocky 2 happened, and then Stallone's career took off. So this isn't a movie I watch a lot. I mean, I hadn't watched this since I watched it for the Slycast, but it's a movie I do enjoy.
Just imagine what we missed out on not having more performances like this. Like oh my God. It really gave me a lot of anxiety what we could have had.
This film was boring for me. I don't know why it was, but I was intrigued and I was interested by Sly's performance. Like, I'm totally on board with you guys. Everything you're saying about Sly, I'm not going to disagree with his acting or even the potential of what we had, because this is still early in his acting career. He wasn't quite honed. I don't think the director did a great job with this film. It looked like a school play, whereas The Godfather, which came out earlier, both films came out before this one, you felt like you're watching a film, and it's something about the way it looked. It felt like a mafioso film. It was gritty and it was dark. I felt like this film felt like a Disney-fied version of a mafia film. I would have liked to see the Francis Ford Coppola version of Fist. That's the problem. I think with this film, it seemed very candy-coated. I wanted it grittier, dirtier. It wasn't violent, brutal enough.
First of all, how natural does Sly look in like a period, 1930s period piece?
Fantastic. He looked great.
With the suspenders and the hat and everything. Like, he looks like he's born to play a role like that. This is more along the lines of Rocky, his performance-wise. First Blood, Lockup, Copland. Like we always said, what a great facial actor he is. Mm-hmm. He's very expressive without saying any words. I think like all of that, everything that made him great in Rocky was on display in this film. He knocked it out of the park. You say what you want about the subject matter. Maybe it's boring to you, but he was
you get mad at me.
Phenomenal. I am mad at you.
Why? Why are you mad at me for? What did I do?
Listen, this is the thing that's going to piss a lot of people off.
What?
Obviously, if he continued on this road, he would have had a very successful dramatic career. This is by far better than any of that comedy garbage that he attempted.
That's not going to make anybody angry. That shouldn't make anyone angry. It should make us frustrated. No. Well, it does make us angry. It makes us angry that it didn't happen.
This is because I also believe that this type of acting is better than any action stuff he's ever done. Honestly, when you're holding him up against guys like Arnold, Seagal, yeah.
Either one of them could have done this movie.
No, but I also don't think that he does action the way Arnold does. You know what I mean? He tried, bless his soul, but he's much better suited for films like this. And think about the ones that we covered, like Copland and Lockup. We love those because of his dramatic performances. It just pisses me off that we can hold in one hand the amount of films that he excelled at doing this kind of character.
Well, maybe that's why we love Rocky so much, because it was a bit of a best of both worlds. You had a little bit of action sequences, especially in 3 and 4. They were popcorn-type films. So you got him being action-y, but he really was a dramatic actor in those films, and that's why I think the Rocky films were so loved and beloved by both non-action and action film fanatics, just because he's a dramatic actor in those films, especially in the Creed films and Rocky Balboa and the first 2 Rockies, let's say. Very dramatic, very grounded acting, and we didn't see this enough in his career. I'm totally on board with everything you're saying, guys, about his acting and the frustration it was to watch this. Maybe that was part of my is I'm not a big union guy. I don't know what it is about the union stuff. Like me, I'm all for whatever. Yes, I believe in proper wages and proper whatever. I'm from Canada, so healthcare and stuff it's not an issue up here the way it is in the States. So I get it that it's a big thing to fight for down there and that kind of stuff. So I'm all for that and I'm all for it. This film, where it lost me was it didn't pick a lane. I wish it just would pick a lane. I wish it was darker and grittier because it showed signs of that with some of the assaults and what have you, but then they kind of pulled back a little bit. I felt like I was watching a TV edit.
You're also comparing a ham sandwich to filet mignon.
Okay, I'm on my own here. I'm on my own. Okay, people in the comments tell me this is the greatest film ever. Look, the film was boring, but I liked watching Sly act in it, if that makes sense. So I was watching his performance and I was saying, okay, this is something we could have had for decades and we didn't. Maybe I'm just mad that I'm watching something that could have been. You're watching that trajectory and Sly goes, I'm going to the Rocky Well, I'm going to the Ramble Wells, and he never looked back.
Yeah, which is sad. Do you think maybe if this was a bigger success that he would have done more projects like this?
Rocky 2 is going to happen either way, right? There's no stopping Rocky 2, right?
No.
I don't think Rocky 2 is really, I mean, if we really want to trace it, Rocky 3 is really what turned Sly's career around. Because First Blood, as much as we want to call it an action movie, it's, by today's standard, not an action movie, really. It's got action beats in it, but if it was released today, it wouldn't be marketed as an action movie. And I don't think it was marketed as an action movie back then.
It's a drama, for sure, with action beats.
Rocky 3 can't happen for Sly to stay on the path that he stayed on, because if you think about it, around that time we talked about Victory, Nighthawks, which we've talked about.
Great film.
Yeah, so I mean he was doing the work, and then Rocky 3 changed all of that.
Yeah, that's fair that it was Rocky 3, because yeah, you're right. We like Victory. I enjoyed it. We loved Nighthawks, and despite my boredom necessarily of this film, I don't know, maybe I was in the right mindset. I'm sorry, guys. Every time Sly's on screen, he's great to watch. Maybe maybe all the non-Sly stuff, I was just like, ugh. Union films don't excite me. The whole, like, striking and, I don't know. It just bores me.
Pafo just made a comment in the chat about the new show he's got that he's doing with Taylor Sheridan at Kansas City.
Yeah, don't beat me to that, Louise. I'm getting to that. Louise. Yeah, thank you. We'd like to thank our people in Discord, but yeah, thanks, Louise. Jeez, now he's not going to believe me. He's totally right. Taylor Sheridan, who does Yellowstone, the Mayor of Kingstown, 1883. He's
like the Water, which is an excellent movie.
Yeah, another one.
Wind River.
Yes, awesome. This guy's a great writer, filmmaker, TV creator. So yeah, he's doing this Mafia TV series with Sly. We said it during our Get Carter. I don't know if you guys remember my whole rant about that scene in Get Carter where Sly just kicks the crap out of the guy in the elevator shaft or the elevator room. Yep. I think we're going to get that, guys. I don't know if Taylor Sheridan heard me or Sly heard me, but we talked about how we need to get Sly back into the roles of Mafia and a bit of a bad guy. And I think we're going to see that with this Taylor Sheridan TV series that he's doing. Sly's playing a mob boss. You can't be a mob boss without being bad. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm very much looking forward to Kansas City.
Oh, that's what it's called. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis, for the tip of the hat.
Thank you, Luis.
Donald also says here that we can point to certain acting performances of Sly to show he's a better actor than most give him credit for, which I 100% agree. You can't say that about guys like Arnold and the other action stars. I agree with him because let's say the median range is here and you got your drama down here and your action up here. The guys from Arnold and those guys can't necessarily dip below that line into drama the way that Sly can, but he can't also necessarily go above that line to the other stuff. He's done it. The Rambo movies, as violent and bloody as they are, they're legit action movies, and he's really good in them. But the other stuff, Specialists, Assassins, all that other garbage that we've seen.
Sly was chasing Schwarzenegger. I mean, Schwarzenegger is an amazingly gifted physical person. If you want to talk about choices, Schwarzenegger made way more good choices than bad choices compared to Stallone. And ultimately, at the end of the day, when you sort of look at Schwarzenegger's filmography, it doesn't get bad until the action hero was sort of past its prime.
Right. Put it this way. Can you guys picture Stallone in Commando or Total Recall or Running Man? That's the era of action where Arnold was big as the universe. I just can't see Sly rising to the occasion like that.
I could see him doing maybe doing Running Man.
I'm visualizing like Stallone's Commando in my head, and I see it. It's not as good, of course.
Stallone's Commando is Rambo. So, yeah, sure.
Well, Commando was Rambo. Commando was the answer to Rambo. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
See,
so
I don't know if I agree with that.
Oh,
but
really? Okay.
That's for another episode,
okay,
I guess.
fair enough. No, Craig, you had some stuff regarding the script.
This was Joe Esterhaas, who is probably one of the more famous screenwriters in terms of the screenwriter as rock star, you know, kind of like Shane Black or Steven D'Souza. When screenwriters were starting to get paid millions of dollars for their scripts, we know Joe Esterhaas as Basic Instinct, Showgirls. But this was his first movie. He was a novelist and a journalist. This was his first film, and he pitched it to the studios, and Norman Jewison came on board, the writer. Esterhaas details all of this in a chapter of his book, chapter 3 of his book, Hollywood Animal, which is an excellent read. It's a 700-plus page book about his career in Hollywood. Chapter 3 is devoted to this movie, and it's called I Kill Rocky Balboa. And he talks all about it. So if you have any interest in this movie and what it's like to work with Sly, it's worth checking out. But basically, they sent this script originally to Robert De Niro, who sat on it for months.
Oh.
The day they gave a verbal offer to Stallone, De Niro decided he wanted to do it, but it was too late. They had already verbally committed to Sly.
Oh, wow.
Part of Sly's deal was getting to do a rewrite on the script, which infuriated Joe Esterhaas. Joe Esterhaas attacked him in the press about it and was banned from the set. Long story short, after the movie failed, Stallone basically admitted that he didn't really do anything on it. What do they say? Victory has a million fathers and defeat has one.
Fair enough.
They didn't even meet when they were making during the production of this movie at all. They met after the film premiered. They met at a dinner or something. They went over and Joe went and said hi to Stallone, and Stallone shook his hand. Let me see if I can find the quote. I found it. So it's after the premiere they met. Let's see. He says, I saw Stallone's table, which was surrounded by bodyguards. The bodyguards turned and stared at me as I approached. Stallone got up with a big grin and stuck his hand out. This is the first time they're meeting. I'd never met him, of course, and what struck me was that he was short, standing next to me. You had to get a little dig in there.
Yeah, of course.
How you doing, I asked. I introduced my wife. Stallone put his hand out to shake hers, and his wife hit Stallone. Stallone acted like it hurt. There was another interaction he talks about in the book, but I can't find it right now. Fine. If you can get it out of your library or something, I know it's... Or you might be able to get a cheap paperback copy of it or something. But it's a good read. Joe Esterhaas is a pretty fascinating guy.
Yeah, for sure. He actually wrote Doug's favorite movie there, Showgirls. That's a great film.
Boobies.
I think Showgirls was an answer to F.I.S.T.
Oh, my goodness.
What did I do? What? Did you guys catch any of the Rocky alumni that were in this film? There's 2 of them that I caught.
Yeah, I did catch a Paradise Alley alumni. I think his name was Vince in this movie. He was initial mafia guy that he goes to get help. Yeah, he was in Paradise Alley. He was the little... Wasn't it a little guy at the beginning when they're racing on the rooftops?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen that film.
We didn't talk about Paradise Alley?
No, we did Lords of the Flatbush.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You know what? I would rather watch Lords of the Flatbush right now. Not even joking.
Shut your mouth.
Our old pal Frank McRae was in the opening scene.
Yeah, so Frank McRae.
I was hoping he was going to be in more of the movie. He was just in that opening scene, and that was it.
Yeah, so Frank's been in 2 Sly films. Do you know the other 2? Do you remember?
Lock Up.
Yep. He had a much bigger role in that one, of course. And then Rocky 2. I gotta let you go, Rock. Another Union movie. Union rules.
And then you said Rocky.
Wasn't he in Paradise Alley?
Frank McRae?
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure. I can't remember. Yeah, that's just off the top of my head, maybe. And then there was a very small role when they went to talk to the
guy that talks to the people that the employees saying how happy they were to get a loan to pay for their health.
Yeah,
right.
And there was the same actor who had a bit part in Rocky 2. I heard you're a pretty good fighter. Why don't you try fighting? I read somewhere you're pretty good. Rocky's.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the same actor that interviewed Rocky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
he's wearing his blue leisure suit.
Yeah, Rocky's blue leisure suit. It's the best suit ever. That's the one piece of Rocky costume that even Kunda doesn't have. You know, the Rocky leisure suit. That's what I want to see on somebody.
Yeah.
So, Doug, what was it about this film that you liked so much, other than the watching Sly in a serious acting role, kind of like like chomping at the bit in his early acting career, trying to prove himself that he's not just another bum from the neighborhood in the acting world. What is it about this film that you like so much then?
I like, right from the beginning, he had the interests of his union members at heart. Actually, he had it throughout the whole movie, right? But you see the slow progression when he realizes he can't do it himself, so he invites the local gangster, Vince, Kevin Conway's character.
Yeah, it's like making a deal with the devil. You know you're going to regret it, but you have to do it.
You have to do it. It goes from that to now we're getting some bigger mobsters involved. The whole Chicago syndicate gets involved. And at that point, like, you could see Johnny saying, I know it's not right, but it's necessary. And you could see the struggle. You can see the struggle within him as he starts to lose control. He himself doesn't do too many shady things, except that one strike when he's beating the shit out of people and he kills that one guy.
I didn't know he killed him until that trial. Did you guys, was that talked about? Did I miss that? That he actually,
I think it was implied.
Because his friend says, hey, stop or you're going to kill him. I was led to believe it didn't happen then, but I guess he died from injuries afterwards?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so. It wasn't like a mob-style thing that he was doing. He was just, he was defending.
It wasn't. It was self-defense to start with. He fought back. But as well as
at some point.
Yeah, like once the person you're defending yourself against is incapacitated, you then withdraw your assault. He was caught up in the moment. Don't get me wrong, I understand, but by the law, it was actual murder or manslaughter, maybe manslaughter, because it wasn't first, it was a fight, and he just kept going after this guy was already on the ground, not fighting back.
It's not like you lit him on fire or anything.
That's true. He didn't. He was no Marion Cobretti.
It was cold-blooded murder.
Yeah, Cobretti was literally a murderer. Literally.
To answer your question, Ryan, I was so invested in the story and like the path that Johnny Kovac took from being just a union organizer to things kind of getting out of control and beyond his control, even though he still was fighting for the guys, a really strong union leader.
The other thing, Doug, is he never loses that either, because we get to the later parts of the movie where he noticed the one guy has like a manicure and he gives him a hard time about it. And when he goes to visit Peter Boyle in their offices and they've got like the walnut finish and they have a masseur or whatever, and you can see that it kind of upsets Kovac that the union money is being used for shit like this. He never got corrupted to the point where he wasn't, like you said, looking out for the best interest of the men.
It sounds like he did take the house offer after all.
Yeah.
His friend told him at the wedding he took the house.
But that didn't take money out of anybody's pocket.
No, I'm just saying he took the house offer. Even though in that sequence with the mob guy, he's like, oh, I don't want nothing from you. But he ended up taking the house because his friend said you got that house from that mob boss, and Sly's character didn't deny that.
He confronted him at the wedding, Johnny's wedding. He was eavesdropping into their conversation when the gangster was a wedding gift. I'll give you a house. But he walks out and then Johnny says, no, I'm good. So his buddy Abe didn't even hear Johnny turn it down. So I didn't think he took that deal.
I
didn't think the house came till later.
What did you think of the time jump? Did you catch how many years it was? They didn't say in the film, but
it had to be close to 20.
Yeah, 21 years, almost 21 years. The reason why I knew that only because I Googled the song they're playing. I forget now what it was, but they did the wedding and then they did that spinning sequence of the bride at the wedding, and then it jumped to this modern day looking or a later looking building. I like during this film, F.I.S.T. was as an organization was getting more and more grandiose. They went from like paper handouts to neon signs to their own buildings and what have you to 2 to 3 million members. So it was interesting to watch the growth of this institution. But yeah, it was 20 years because the song they played, it started in 1937, the film, and the song that they played, I forget what it was called, but it was a 1958 release. So that's where he was in that point. So he's probably in this part of his life, probably about 50 years old.
That was one of the comparisons I got from this film and the Jimmy Hoffa story was because, we saw like the F.I.S.T. headquarters now all of a sudden is in Washington, D.C., and Jimmy Hoffa's union, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, moved from Indianapolis to Washington, D.C.
So that's a good name. So that's a name that isn't trying to sound like a,
IBT?
Yeah. Telling you guys, I stand by. Let us know in the comments below. I think F.I.S.T. was made to make it sound like a fighting movie. Anyways. If you look at the poster, they're holding like sticks and stuff.
I found some stuff here, Ryan, not to go back on stuff we talked about already, but Paradise Alley did film after F.I.S.T. Joe in his book says, F.I.S.T. was a complete critical and commercial stiff. And when that was clear, Stallone apologized to me. He did it publicly in Us magazine.
Wow.
Stallone was quoted as saying, I feel like a man who's been burglaring Joe Esterhouse's house for the past year and a half, and went on to say that he'd done no real work on the script and that it was all Joe's. So then later, Joe actually went and had lunch with Stallone while they were filming Paradise Alley.
Okay.
And Sly said, listen, I'm sorry I said that stuff. My life has been so insane. This stuff just like happened overnight to me. It doesn't matter though. Everybody in town knows it's your script. Joe said, yeah, I said, but the movie failed. And then Stallone blamed Norman Jewison. And he said, I told him, you wouldn't listen to me. The public doesn't want to see me die. I'm Rocky Balboa. You kill Rocky Balboa and there's going to be a price to pay. And I said, you're supposed to be Johnny Kovac. And he said, Johnny Kovac is nothing compared to Rocky Balboa. He's just a character you made up. But Joe said, but isn't Rocky Balboa? And Sly said, not anymore. And this is in what, 1978? Sly said, not anymore. Rocky Balboa is an American myth now. He's Superman with heart and vulnerability. He ate some more Sprouts and he said, yo, Adrian, and started to laugh. And then Sly says he suggested to Norman Jewison, the director, break this thing into 2 movies and release them a month apart. F.I.S.T. 1 and F.I.S.T. 2. The first one ends on a high note. Kovac wins against the bad guys. Rocky Balboa is triumphant. The audience would have eaten it up. And then a month later, you put out the one and get into the Godfather stuff. Pretty interesting to see the kind of fan service that Sly wanted to do already at that point. And then also...
he likes to retouch his stuff, eh? Boy.
Yeah, but then also what his thoughts on Rocky were already, even prior to Rocky 2. You know, the fact that he knew Rocky Balboa was already this sort of like mythic character.
Interesting.
It's kind of ballsy for him to say. I mean, yeah, Rocky was a success, but there was no telling at that time what it would have become with 4 or 5 sequels.
Yeah, I mean, he also might have been looking for an excuse not to die on screen. I know earlier today, Ryan, you actually tweeted the screenshot of him getting killed at the end of F.I.S.T. here. You know, you said it's one of the rare Stallone on-screen deaths, yeah.
Is there any other ones you can think of where he's the title character?
Depending on how you take the ending of Last Blood.
I argued, despite what Sly has said, others have said, because you don't kill the franchise. Sly would never say it's over because it's a franchise, but I think he went off to die. I still think the character went off to die, but that's just me. Other than that, yeah, on-screen death. Do we have a Stallone on-screen death?
From what I read, this was the only.
Yeah, and it sounds like he didn't want to do it, so...
I find it interesting that they were already talking about, but they were obviously talking about the idea that there should have been more Godfather-esque to the film. When I talk about the film quality, I'm not meaning, how do you compare any film to the Godfather films? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the tension or the filter. Maybe it's just the filter of the film was so clean and so Disney-fied, it didn't feel gritty. And
well, you know what, I have to say that the HD version that we watched, my memory of the DVD that I watched is different, and I don't think the DVD was a remaster or anything like that, so it's got the grain that you're used to seeing. But also, Esterhouse's original script, Ryan, was 400 pages, so the whole Part 1 and Part 2 thing makes a little bit of sense. I don't know about a month apart, but if you look at Godfather 1 and Godfather 2, I think if earlier in the production there had been discussions about making it a 2-film story, we probably would have gotten what you're looking for.
Okay.
Joe Esterhouse also wrote the novelization of this movie, which I'm sure if you read the book, it includes all of the stuff that we didn't see. Another
thing that I might agree with you on, like that lends to the cleanness of the film, you can tell these weren't sets, outside shots.
Sure.
It was all filmed in...
They filmed most of the movie in Iowa, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Dubuque, Iowa.
Yeah.
There's no establishing shots of the scenery. All you see is an alley and the gate to a warehouse.
Sure.
You know what I mean? If you showed some establishing shots of the grittiness, the blue collar nature of where they were, it takes place in Cleveland, though?
I think it's supposed to be Cleveland, yeah.
So maybe if you showed some established shots of the blue collar nature of the neighborhood they live and work, maybe that would have helped the grittiness a little bit.
We would be remiss if we didn't mention, of course, Sheriff Teasel and John Rambo's first meeting. I mean, let's talk about that sequence.
Oh, you asked me before if you want to clip something. This exchange between them was beautiful.
What the hell you come here for? You can't scare me. Those business agents you sent down, huh? I'd have put one of them through a plate glass window.
Oh, you're a rough guy, Frank. Anyone can see that. But you gotta understand something. This ain't nothing personal. I mean, what the hell? Our folks probably come over in the same boat together. Am I right? Basias Majuru?
You're about me, Uncle.
Then what are we arguing for?
They don't want to sign up, Johnny. They took a vote. They don't want to pay dues. Look, we got our own insurance. I mean, my guys, they got the best overtime in Chicago. They got the best rate of pay anybody in Illinois. What the hell do they want to sign up for?
Because a lot of other guys with other companies, you see, that ain't got it so good. We gotta think about all the guys out there on the road, Frank. We gotta have them all sign up, everybody. Everybody doesn't live like this. We gotta bring them all together, Frank, so as we got to push.
Look, I'm not gonna force my men to do something they don't want to do.
We can't make no exceptions, Frank.
Isn't Brian Dennehy a great actor?
He
Oh, he's
acts
tremendous.
the shit out of that scene, man. He's great. This scene I have as kind of like where Stallone's character, Johnny Kovac, turns a little bit more to like
The dark side.
Dark side, yeah, because the mob influence kind of manifests within him during this scene. This guy's name is Frank Vasco. That's Dennehy's character. He pushes Vasco to have his guys join the F.I.S.T. union, even though the guys don't want to. And, you know, at the end of the scene, he tells them, like, we can't make no exceptions. Even though these workers, these truckers are fine, Vasco gives them good contracts. He gives them good pay. They have health insurance and everything. So they're taken care of. It's the everybody or nobody kind of.
And that's where you start losing his way a little bit. It's like, okay, are you inviting people to join your church or are you forcing them to?
Right, exactly. But what they do, they send a message to Vasco by beating up his wife a little bit.
What is it with Dennehy and Stallone having to do their scenes together at Christmas time? Like, why is both their films, First Blood and Fist, they're both at Christmas time? And I said,
did you get the other Christmas connection?
Regarding these two films or just Fist?
Just in general. There's another Christmas connection in Fist. Did you recognize his wife? Stallone's wife.
Yeah, the mother from Christmas Story.
Oh,
Melinda Dillon.
That's right.
Melinda Dillon, yeah.
Anyone thought that Rocky was pushy on Adrian in Rocky 1? Do not watch Fist because he pushed and pushed on this girl to date him like I've never seen anything before. Like,
I mean, if you wanted to make an argument about scenes that may have been written by Stallone, there were a couple of instances in their early courtship that made me think this feels like something Stallone wrote. The whole thing about the roses being on sale.
What beautiful roses.
Oh, thank you. They were having a sale, so I thought I'd buy them.
Maybe we should put them in a vase?
Oh, if it's okay with you, I'd just like to hold them here in my hand.
Some of the jokes he tries to tell her.
You like strawberries, right? Everyone likes strawberries. Yeah.
Anna.
What do you want?
What's the matter? Anna, are you crying? What's the matter?
Nothing.
You look like you're crying. Did somebody do something to you?
No.
What's the matter?
Don't you ever cry?
Yeah, I cry when I peel onions, but you look like you're a little bit more upset than that. Want to go have some beer?
I told you I don't drink beer.
Well, how about some coffee? Want to get some coffee? No, you don't want no coffee. How about some ice cream? Come on, everybody likes ice cream. What do you like? You like vanilla? You don't like chocolate? No chocolate? How about strawberry? Come on, I know you like strawberry, right? I can see you smiling already. You smiling? I know there's a smile in their egg, so.
Yes.
Want to get some strawberry? I know a great place. Cheap, too.
Oh, no hands.
You mean you don't want me to touch it? No hands. All right, no hands. I was thinking, Anna, it's going to be very difficult driving with no hands, but we'll work something out. You ever try to shift with your elbows?
I've never been in a car.
Yeah, for me, that felt like something that could have been worked up on set or something like that.
I think that's Stallone coming through. That's him when he writes the Rocky films. I think a lot of that silliness, that jovialness, that is Sly. I think Sly is a silly guy. I like that about him. He's got a great sense of humor. He's not good in comedies per se, like a comedic film, but he himself has a very natural sense of humor. So when he lets that out a little bit, I think that's ad-libbing. He does it a little bit. I don't know. What do you want to come over to my place? I don't know. Come over to the couch. It's not a bad couch. Oh, speaking of which, as I did a little bit of the Rocky voice, what I liked about Fist, I think he did this on purpose. I noticed his voice and tone was very clipped. His octave was a little bit higher. He was very much trying to not sound like Rocky. He's showing audiences, because a lot of people, this was the first time they saw Stallone was a Rocky film. And understandably, but they were wrong. They thought Stallone talked with he lowered his voice for Rocky and stuff. So I know he has a low voice. He talked about it in the behind the scenes for the director's cut. He actually talked about it. Stallone has always suffered as an actor having that very low voice. So I noticed in this film he talked at a higher octave than I've never heard him before.
He definitely was trying to get as far away from Rocky Balboa voice as he could.
He's an eloquent speaker. The first rally speech when he's the guy in the wheelchair, Joe Harper, when he's trying to rally the guys that don't want to join the union, it's like his first speech that he gives to the guys.
Most of you guys know Joe Harper. Joe Harper is one of the first guys with this union. Paying dues for more than 20 years, showing up in meetings, doing what he was asked, being a brother. All his life, he ran from one place to another to support his family. The only damn the company gave about him was to have him run more and more until he run himself off the road. Now the company don't give a damn at all. But I want to tell you guys something. We ain't asking the company for nothing, because we're going to take care of Joe. We're taking care of his doctor bills. We're taking care of his family. Because Joe's a good union man. And we're taking care of him and the people he loves. And I'll tell you something else. You join this union, we'll get you money for overtime and doctor bills. And you won't have to kill yourself making a buck, like you're doing now, like my old man did. You join this union to make us strong. It'll make you strong. And I swear to you, as I'm standing here, that no company bastard living up in the heights is gonna come down here and walk all over your lives. Promise you that.
These monologues, when he's trying to rally the troops, he's getting louder and louder.
By joining hands with your brothers all over this country, and your brothers in Canada, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, we'll see this international moving together as never before. And with your support, I will get you the biggest pay hike in the history of this union! You deserve it, and I'm going to see that you get it. I promise you that. I promise you that.
The way he delivers it is brilliant. You wanted to talk earlier about Sly's subtle comedy instead of like the force down your throat shit, like
Wearing a
stopping my
diaper?
mom will shoot. The awkward interaction between him and the girl's mom. Oh my God, I was laughing. Because he said, like, you know, what do I talk to your mom about? She said the weather.
I want to talk to you.
Go of
I want
me?
to talk to you. What'd you do?
What?
Why'd you stand me up?
Nobody comes for me.
I was under control. I wasn't.
Who's control? The gentlemen who come.
Hey, look, I ain't got the money to be a gentleman, all
The
right?
gentlemen who take me out. They knock on my door very politely.
right?
Yes, they talk to my mother.
I'm going to talk to your mother about
The weather.
the weather.
The weather. They escort me to their car, and
Yeah?
sometimes they even bring me flowers.
Flowers.
Flowers?
You know you're nuts. You know that, Anna? You know that? I look like I got any flowers? What do you think I am, a pansy? You think I got flowers on me?
So he tries shoehorning in some weather quips when he's talking to her.
This heat is really something.
The humidity from the lake, I think.
I like it when it's cold because you can feel yourself breathe. And you don't sweat through all your shirts.
This is one of the hottest spells we have had in years.
It's very true. Very true. I was thinking about that.
You are not Lithuanian.
No, I'm Hungarian.
Catholic?
Oh, sure. Since I was born.
What have you two been talking about behind my back?
The weather.
Oh, Johnny, what beautiful flowers. You shouldn't have.
Well, they were having a sale, so I thought, well, why not?
Thank you.
Rightfully so. He's the highlight of this film. And I'll just still stand by that the direction and the pace and the storyline of Unions bored me, but Sly didn't bore me. Everything that he did was fun to watch. It's like watching a museum. I don't know how to describe it. Like seeing him now as a 75-year-old man, right? He's now watching him as a young actor. It was really kind of fascinating to watch this early performance by, it's almost sad, but a very, when he's acting, he's very hopeful in his career at this point that he can go beyond Rocky, that he can be something else. And you could tell he was really trying to showcase that he could do something other than Rocky. And it was kind of sad that it didn't quite come to fruition throughout his career or enough. I mean, we've seen it with Lockup and Copland and other films, but really, he never really got to shed that. And I'm hoping again with this Taylor Sheridan TV series, he gets to showcase again a gritty, darker role. If
he keeps working, I think we might, especially if Kansas City is a success, I think we might get more of this.
Nice.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
But also, I think we have to see how Samaritan hits too. I mean, we haven't seen any marketing. We haven't seen any marketing for it yet. I mean, I know he's a superhero in it, but is it a superhero film or is it?
It's finished, right?
Yeah.
It's ready to go.
I thought it was coming out in like late summer or fall.
If you look on IMDb, it doesn't say like post-production. It says completed. I know COVID stalled it, but I don't know what's up with it.
I think Sly's working on the recut right now.
August 26th, by the way.
Oh, it is coming out. Okay, this year. Okay.
I wanted to highlight another. Could we give some props to Rod Steiger?
Yeah, the senator.
The senator. His scenes, he really brought it. Do you guys know the Stallone connection there?
The specialist, right? Wasn't he the ridiculous
yes,
mob guy in The Specialist?
Oh, how could I forget?
Juba Stardo himself.
If you haven't listened, guys, listen to our first Stallone podcast show was The Specialist review. Fantastic review. So, yeah.
Yeah. He was great, like a great performance as a senator.
A lot of great performances. I think everyone brought their... Nobody was a bad performance. For me, pacing. Mm-hmm. Another good actor, which I enjoy. I'm actually watching right now, currently rewatching for the third time, the Everyone Loves Raymond TV sitcom. So you got early young Peter Doyle.
Love Peter Boyle.
Boyle, sorry. I said Doyle. As it came out, I said, that doesn't sound right. I don't think I've ever said his name out loud before. Yeah, Peter Boyle, sorry. Yeah, great actor. He did a great job playing, again, kind of a sleazy, he's got that marked down, the kind of a sleazy guy. Yeah, so last question here before we close up our show. Did his family get killed at the end too?
It's never, I don't know.
I think they were disappeared, yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. It's a very abrupt, dark ending. Like, he comes home from his trial, has a big speech. We kind of know his demise is coming. Like, I kind of figured it was. I didn't think I forgot he got killed. Spoiler alert. So he gets shot, kind of a funny freeze frame shot. I wish they showed him falling on the ground, but whatever. So he goes into his room, and they've got to make it look like his wife's in bed with pillows. I don't know why do that. At first I thought that was her, that she had taken off, but he assumed right away it was something else because he grabs his gun. Now, so did they just kill the family? The family's dead somewhere? And
obviously they were planning to kill him, right?
Yeah, there's no question. There's no dialogue. They just shot him.
Wasn't he considered a liability at that point? That's why they killed him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think because his buddy that he started the union with, the guy Abe, he was going to sing at the Senate hearings. So they had him killed, and Johnny went to him and told him, like, he tried to talk him out of it at first, but when couldn't move the guy, he's like, okay, then tell him everything. So they had to kill Abe, and then in turn, because Johnny was supporting Abe, maybe they thought that if they killed Abe and Johnny found out, then he would turn on the mob. So they get rid of them both.
Okay. Before we close, I just want to thank those who joined us in Discord. If you haven't already, join our Discord channel. It's free, obviously, and you get to interact with us when we do these recordings. When we do the Stallone podcast or Going the Distance, we record live. I think the Bruce Willis one does as well, but I really encourage other podcasters on this feed to record live. You get some people joining you, and they ask some great insights and questions. It keeps the conversation going. A couple of things here. One from Donald. He did agree that this movie was a marketing problem. He says that when he first heard about F.I.S.T. with that title, he thought it would be about a Stallone type of army type film, like Rambo with friends, and it's not what he got at all. So he can only imagine that people back then were maybe mismarketed a little bit, and they were disappointed when they saw the film. Louise also said that he watched and listened to the Italian version of this film. He thought he didn't know it came in English. He watched the Italian dub version. He says that the Italian voice actor who dubbed Sly's dialogue spoke with a Rocky-esque tone. The voice actor decided to make him sound like a Rocky, so that's kind of an interesting insight there. Are you going to watch this again in your lifetime?
In my lifetime, I hope so.
Okay. Well, you did say that about Escape Plan 2, Escape to Hades.
That I would watch it again?
No, that you wouldn't watch. Yeah, like you're pretty adamant about not watching certain films again. So this is one you might watch again.
Yeah.
Greg. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this checks a couple of boxes, and some of those boxes don't include Sly being the star.
Okay. Great.
Well, you guys know how highly I regard Copland, right? Sung its praises when we covered it all those years ago, and I still sing its praises to this day. This, in my opinion, blows Copland out of the water. This, Ryan, I see your face right. This film might be my favorite non-Rocky, non-Rambo, non-First Blood film from Stallone.
Okay. I'm glad you feel that way. I'm happy you feel it. Look, I'm too old. Life is too short. I'm not going to get mad at you. Look, if you feel that it's good, I'm glad you had fun. I'm surprised. That's all it is. I'm surprised. I'm legitimately surprised.
I see it on your face. Yeah.
I don't think anyone is called... Well, no, that's not true. F.I.S.T. has a lot of fans. I might be in the minority. I found it interesting. I found it fun to watch Sly acting this role. I probably will give it a rewatch in my next 40 years of life. I'm not in any rush to do so. I still stand by it that my favorite non-Rocky Rambo film by Sly is to this day still Lock Up. That's me. And this is a kind of an early version of that acting by Sly, where he's humble in a tough situation, kind of making tough choices in a rough situation. So I think he kind of captured it again in Lock Up, but this is more of a fun watch for me. And maybe that's silly to say that it's just more fun, but it's just more fun to watch that. Oh, we forgot to mention Bill Conti was the soundtrack too for this film.
Oh, great soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's totally Conti too. You can hear the Conti flavor to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you kind of in the middle, Craig, between me and Doug, or because he says this is...
I think so. I would much rather sit down and watch Copland than this.
Okay.
And I also would say I'm not sure which is a better performance. If those two movies go head to head in the Super Bowl, you're going to get a good game.
Good point. Yeah, great analogy. Yeah.
Everybody wins. I don't think you can go wrong with either film.
I think at the end of the day, maybe my anger towards the film was my frustration that we didn't see more of this. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm just watching this thinking, oh, that's great. He did this. That's great. But that's it. Because the rest of our films, have you noticed what we have left to do for this podcast regarding him?
I don't want to think about it, Ryan. Please. I don't want to end on a bad note.
Which one do you guys want to do next? Ants, or do you want to do Spy Kids 3? Do you want to do...
When we were still voting on this, I put Spy Kids 3 up for a vote, I think, at least twice. And both times, the audience let me down.
Guys, we still got Oscar, Avenging Angelo...
Rhinestone.
Right, yeah, Rhinestone. We have a lot of shit to do.
That's all that's left until Samaritan comes out. That's all we have left. We still have to do Escape Plan 3, guys.
No, you know what? We haven't done Bullet to the Head.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Right. Any more straight-to-video stuff that,
A lot.
Thankfully, the Escape Plan franchise ended that. You know what else I'd like to do? I'd like to talk about Homefront.
That's a good one. Yeah, it's true. True. All right, guys. As always, this is always a pleasure. I really do appreciate you guys. This is just Ryan talking now. Sincerely to you two, Doug and Craig. You're both fantastic friends. You're good people. You're great podcasters. Truly, I wouldn't do this with you if I didn't feel that way. That's the honest truth. It's a joy talking about Stallone with you guys and the films. You guys elevate my game a little bit, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. And also, I just want to say that I really love this Discord aspect of the podcast and love having the listener interaction as we're recording.
It does help.
Really, really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really makes it a lot of fun. Not that it's not fun without it, but it increases my enjoyment.
Absolutely. Because what's the thing is when you're live doing this, sometimes your brain doesn't work as well. And it's easier to be, not that these guys are, but when you're under no pressure, you can come up with little ideas and stuff that you can throw in. So we appreciate that from the audience, giving us thoughts and ideas like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. So thanks guys for that. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, check out all of our podcasts on the Last of the Action Heroes podcast. Again, just Google Last of the Action Heroes podcast network. We come up and you'll get all of our shows, all the different shows on that network. Great podcasters. Everyone adds a unique style and flavor to this network. I love it. I truly do. Signing off. Thanks, guys.
Take care.